Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Colin Connection. I'm Will, as you know, and this is a review episode for the Bulldogs v Collingwood last night at Marvel Stadium. The Bulldogs triumphed 14-13, 97, defeated our beloved Pies 13-15, 93. Before we dive into that, a bit of a heartbreaking loss for myself. But anyway, Fossil up there in Patterson Lakes, how you going, mate?
Yeah, good, thanks, Will. And yeah, it was disappointing, mate. They were still in there with a shot, but you couldn't quite get across the line. But we'll talk about that later on in the segment. Will?
Yeah, it was pretty disappointing in the end. Look, they had a fight back, so you got to take some positivity out of that. But it's a situation we put ourselves in. I do say up there to Fossil because I've made the move down to Tassie, as Fossil mentioned. Family made a move, so that Tassie Devils team not far away, Fossil. But I'll always be loyal to the Magpies, so they might have to be my second team in this environment. So, no, very. Thank you, Fossil, for helping me move and all that, and taking over when I had the week off. So Fossil, final siren goes. We had a thrust down forward, which was marked by the Western Bulldog. I think it was Selwood, and then they kick it to the wing, another mark. So first thoughts, right when the siren went.
Yeah, no, my first thoughts were, Will, I think, to be true, we got completely outplayed for three quarters, like with their ball movement and everything. And I think, and we were still lucky and we still had a chance to win the game. So that was my thoughts when the siren went.
Yeah, it was pretty disappointing. Sorry, I thought you were going to go on there, Fossil. Yeah, it was a bit disappointing. For me, it's reminding me, and other supporters online have spoken about this. It seems like a repeat of 2024 Fossil when we've had that one draw. I think we had two draws in 2024, and there's some interchange controversy with that Hawthorn draw like we had against Freo. If the Pies fans remember a couple of years ago, that umpire who just hated us for some reason. And we've lost to Fremantle, Sydney, and the Bulldogs this year by a total of 16 points. So we used to be the masters of a close finish, but like they say, that's really a 50-50 concept. And we were on the higher winning percentage back then, but we just can't seem to get ourselves over the line. We won that close one against the Blues a few weeks ago, but that was a kick after the siren as well. That could have been another draw. So it just doesn't seem like it's quite clicking for the players and this whole setup. And I know you can chuck injuries into the mix, and that's not to blame for our losses, but it doesn't help. And yeah, we just seem to be playing safe, measured footy, which isn't the Collingwood way that we've known for the last few years. And took until the fourth quarter to throw caution into the wind, and then we look a bit more like the Pies we know, and we started to slice open the opposition. When we go slow, you rely on that key target down forward that we just don't have. So, if they're gonna play slow football, then they're really gonna we're gonna hurt ourselves more than anyone. So no good. And yeah, it's just disappointing. Like you said, three quarters of not much, and the Bulldogs could have got on top a lot more, but they fought back, so we'll take that. But it's a hard pill to swallow, Fossil. Anyway, we'll get to that first quarter, Fossil. That's all you.
Yeah, first quarter, William. Yeah, yeah, we got off to a fairly slow start. William, the Dogs, they were clearing the ball easy out of the easy out of the centre. And I think early stages, they had 12 to 3 inside 50. So the backline was standing up very well considering the amount of times the ball was going in there. But the thing I noticed, Will, too, it like at the centre square when they bounced the ball, we seemed to have nobody behind the Dogs, and the ruckman was just tapping it back behind, and they were running left and right, and they really smashed us in the midfield, and they seemed to get the ball in quickly. So I don't know whether that's because they were one on one or not, but they seemed to be set up fairly well, and they gave us an absolute hiding. But yeah, like I said, the back line was tearing up well with the repeat entries, but yeah, the midfield we really got hammered there, Will, and I think the Dogs' quick handball and ball movement was catching us out. They got the overlap going, and they were a lot cleaner than we were early. I think they seemed to hit their targets very well, but when we got the ball, we seemed to be handballing, and guys were bending over or was going to the right to their feet, and then by the time they got the ball, it gave the Dogs a chance to tackle. But also, when we did go forward, Will, our forward line, it just wasn't functioning well enough. Like memory with stay had to go a long way up the ground to mark the ball, and when they turned around, like you got a Blake Schultz's size taking strong marks, and he did play very well, but we just missed that third tall, in the square. And if he had to mark the ball, we could probably have got a couple of more cheap goals, but we just didn't have it there. And I thought our structure was a little bit out with only memory and McStay in the forward line. And kicking inside 50 wasn't too crash hot either. Like when we got a small forward line, they got to lead up and try and mark the ball. Early days, that first kick inside 50 was really good. But we got a couple of late goals, William, from Dacos and Memory. And, for the amount of time that they had possession, the scores at quarter time, I think it was pretty flattering, but it was 3-3 to 4-4. De was having a good game. He had 10 disposals and a goal. I thought Maynard down back was leading from the front. Will, he had 7 disposals, 2 marks, 3 tackles. And I thought, we were probably with their dominance, but we were still in the game. So, like I said, it was 3-3 to 4-4 at quarter time.
Yeah, no, they were very much on top of the Dogs, and we were behind the 8 ball, but those couple of goals sort of got us back in the contest, even if they were against play. And I had a couple of dot points for that second quarter, but pretty much, it's the same old struggles we've had all year. Like you said, that connection inside 50, can't win the ball out of the centre. We've been cleaned up the last couple of weeks, and if we're not getting first use of the footy when Steam was there, that was a whole different. It was a very big difference in our game against Essendon, against Carlton. We just saw the ball go straight out, straight forward, and then your forwards actually have a chance one-on-one instead of, or they block for each other and get a clean lead instead of playing against 10 defenders. And McStay was our tallest target, and he's ideally a third tall. So it's just a bit all over the shop, and we're going to be on the back foot if we keep this up. So they're going to have to figure out something. I know we got the mid-season recruit We'll get to that later, Foss. But yeah, I think he's going to be a very necessary addition next week, especially against Big Max Scorn and Melbourne, who have pretty good tall stock. So yeah, not hitting targets and handball into the feet, that's pretty much the same thing. He rolled into the second quarter. Um, a couple of big plays, which, obviously the second quarter doesn't decide the game, but I thought Parker was unlucky. He caught Treloar absolutely holding the ball, incorrect disposal, and the umpire doesn't call it. The Bulldogs go forward and kick a goal, so those ones hurt. The tail of the night, they got out to a 3-4 goal lead, the Dogs, and then we seem to fight back as soon as we're down by that margin, but we shouldn't have to wait to be we've got to be proactive. We can't just wait to be reactive because we're never going to, we've been struggling all year to string together 4 quarters, and we're never going to be able to catch them if we give them a good head start. At this point, 5 minutes into the second quarter, we were down in centre clearances 9-1, and the inside 50 count was doubled by the Dogs, almost double, 20-11. So only down by 3 goals. Like you said, we were pretty lucky to be in the contest at this point. And one example I use with McStay and just that connection that's not happening is it was on the wing. We were really struggling to get the ball out of the back line. He competed against 3 dogs on the wing and got the ball to ground, and there was absolutely no crummers, which just means that those small players weren't working hard enough to support him. And he's probably looking around going, "What are you guys doing? I've got 3 guys on me." And he did very well to, not let them mark the footy. But that's just, if you got 2 guys there, they get the crumb, they go forward, and like you said, we weren't clean, but that's just another opportunity we missed out on. And the end margin is 4 points. So these little things just come back to bite you. Nick Dacos got pushed in the back, and I don't know if you noticed, Fossil, he copped a bit of treatment, and the umpires just seemed to turn an eye the other night. Yeah, they're pushing the back, a couple of high tackles. So I hope they're not looking at him like he's the next Ginnivan. But anyway, the Dogs started to get really ugly when, yeah, that was a non-call and Edwards got a 50, and then we're down 46-23. So like the first quarter, we wrestled back a bit of momentum. The goal, he missed an easy shot. Like we could have just run all the way in. He snapped it and missed. Luckily, he set up Schultz late, and we got that goal back. But I just noticed that if we're going to go short, you need the pressure forwards up and about, and the Dogs just seem to be clearing defence too easily without our forward pressure. They said it was up on the meter, but they just seem to find these targets about 60, 70 out, just those easy kicks, and then the pressure's off them. They get to chill for a bit, and then they go into attack mode again. So anyway, the Pies were down 49-32 at half time, and I hate to say that we were probably closer than we should have been, Fossil, at that point.
You know, you're spot on there, Will. Yeah, like you said. But anyway, in the third quarter, Will, I thought Collingwood would have made a few changes, but they didn't. Like Bontempelli was going absolutely to berserk, and he let a player like him go by himself, which we'll talk about later on. Has got me absolutely Scheisenhausen with him. But we kept in striking distance. But we got a couple of quick goals from it staying short, so it sort of kept us in the game. But we were only doing it in bits and pieces. Well, like you said, we had to work really hard for our goals, whereas the Dogs, they sort of forced us down the line. And at one stage there, Cameron and McStay were off the ground, and we had no hope. Lob and them were just sitting back, smoking the pipe, marking it easy, and then getting the quick handball going and the overlap going. And it just wasn't working. A couple of times we cut through the middle of the ground and got the overlap going, and we scored a couple of goals. But it made it very tough. And I think we probably went in with one tall short, Will, because poor old Cameron, he was trying to do both ends, and they're big boys, the two dog ruckmans, so it made it very, very tough. But he battled his guts out. But and Anderson kicked a great 65-metre goal. Will, it reminds you a bit of the Fossil back in the day. Beautiful it was, straight
You
off the
you,
boot.
you couldn't
And
kick over a tin can, Fossil. What are you talking about?
that's exactly right, William. But anyway, but like you said, we were still getting our play, but we were still in the game. We kicked 4 goals that quarter to 4 goals 3 to go. He was playing very, very well. Well, I think he had 20 disposals and a goal, and Schultze was trying his guts out. He had 20 and a goal. I think Pendles had 24 and Nick Dacos had 27. So at three-quarter time, we were still a chance, Will.
Yeah, well, 3 goals down, it's not ideal, but we know Collingwood can fight back from those sort of deficits like they did against the Blues. Excuse me, Fossil. Yeah, but the just with that third quarter, two big moments. Cameron, he did work his guts out, and he was probably stuffed. But that's when McStay went off with the blood rule, and he was absolutely carving up Buku Kamas, and Cameron as well got a free kick, but 15 meters out, 45-degree angle. If he had to kick that goal, we're back level, and I reckon that was just a point where if we had got back the lead, then it sort of just would have rolled on from there because we just seemed to get so close and they kick away. So it's yeah, I know it's those little things and I feel for Cameron, but those little shots, like those moments will be the ones they'll be kicking themselves about. But like we said, not Cameron's fault. He needs another ruckman to support him. So hopefully that comes in next week. And with that fourth quarter, 3 goals down and finally getting some centre clearances. And you know what, Fossil? We started to kick some goals all of a sudden. So we had a really hot start. Schultze missed an opportunity though to level the scores. Ed Allen was absolutely huge. He was stopping the Bond. He didn't touch the ball for the first 15 minutes of the quarter, and then he was also helping himself to clearances. He wasn't clean all the time, Alan. He still, got to get a couple of his disposals right. But I loved how he took on the game, and he's just growing in stature each week. So he just has to be a permanent fixture now because we brought up the topic of whether he becomes a trade option at the end of the year because WA clubs, especially West Coast, are looking at him is we have nothing to lose. He gets that experience, he gets a bit more momentum, and then hopefully he signs on with the Pies, and then we can keep a classy midfielder, or else his trade stocks just keep going up. So he's obviously coming out of contract, but Ed Allen, yeah, he's really taken a step in the right direction. So must keep him, and he's an inside midfielder. He's not a winger. So, for God's sakes, do not put him on the wing anymore, whoever the coaching staff has called that. So, keep him in the side. De Goey, like you said, he was an absolute beast and just was winning the ball over the ground, just willing himself. You saw him at half back all the way to the forward pocket, just trying to get something going. So, absolutely awesome effort, and De Goey has been in hot form lately, so hopefully he can keep going from there. The doggies kicked two quick ones. They were really from chance opportunities. Like Richards marked it and just played on because he thought it was touched. And he's not the best set shot, but then he kicks a goal on the run, and then they got a quick one after that. So back out again, and really became an arm wrestle. We managed to get back to a kick, and Jeremy Howe, absolutely love him and think if he plays like this, he's going to get another contract for next year. But getting outmarked by Richard was just a really deflating point because the Dogs went down and kicked that goal to go 2 kicks up. And if he had his time again, Fossil, and you'd back him 99 out of 100, he just had a moment and it happens. But yeah, just a really hard one to swallow there. And the Dogs gold before memory kicked another late one, but here's a problem with, like you said, being so short. We had two marks late, so Selwood was there, and your mate Houston, who we'll talk about, got out the yeah, he got out marked, and it was a big pack, a great mark, but we just got to get the ball to ground in the dying stages, and then English or Lob, whoever it was, up the ground on the wing, they iced the game essentially with that mark. So it just very frustrating, very hard one for Collingwood fans to feel. A lot have said our season's over. I don't think necessarily in terms of making the wild card round, but if you're finishing ninth or tenth, you're not probably not going to be winning the flag. So anyway, the Bulldogs run out 14-13-97 to the Pies 13-15-93. A surprisingly high scoring game. I didn't expect that, but anyway, Fossil, let's get through those negatives. Hopefully, there's not too many from your point.
Yeah, no, there's not too many, William, but the first one is I can't believe the team selection. With those two ruckmen, and they expect Cameron to do battle with the 207 and the 208. Blind Freddie the Minor, I don't know, they seem to go, they must have thought they were going to try and run them off their feet or match their speed, but yeah, it was a little bit greasy down under, but no, I think they made a big blue there. Well, we should add somebody to give them a chop out. And the other one is Houston. I don't know what he's doing. Well, I think he's just lost all confidence. Like I think he was on about three different players there at one stage, early days, and he got absolutely cleaned up by the bloody three of them. So I don't know whether they might move him up the ground. Maybe he looked like when he gets the ball the last quarter. To be fair, he got in there, took a couple of marks, but he kicks the ball so well. So I'm just wondering if they take him out of defence and may find him another spot up the ground. That's the only thing I can think they can probably do with him. And like you said too, also finally they put somebody on the bot. How they didn't do it the first three quarters has got me absolutely stuffed. Like you said, the last quarter, what was 15 or 20 minutes before he got his first touch, and they should have done it early days. So I think they missed the boat in selection with one tall short and not tagging Bontempelli early.
Yeah, exactly right. Everything just seemed to get kept to that fourth quarter, Fossil, but maybe next week. I did say this to another fan that messaged in, just saying that they could start this from the first quarter. Say we're 4 goals down, guys. Let's start there because just can't take this long, the whole half of footy or three quarters to warm up. So anyway, I'll get some
Yeah.
positives in there, Fossil. Let's try and be half full. Anderson, he can find the big sticks, Fossil, an inside bull, as we know, but that launch from 60, I think he's obviously got a few more weapons than we anticipated, and really doing well. He was quiet before that. I think when he kicked his first goal, he was only 4 touches. But if he can play that midfield moving half forward role and then hit the scoreboard, that's going to be absolutely golden for us since we're struggling and missing a few players. And Ed Allen, like I mentioned before, just they absolutely have to leave him in the side. He shut down Bontempelli, who is in the top three players in the competition, I don't have to say. And I love the Bont, unless he's playing against the Pies, but I love seeing him play, and Allen to stay with him and keep him quiet for that long. I think they put Anderson on him a bit later in the quarter. Maybe Allen was moved off or interchanged at the time. But Ed Allen just has to play every week, and no, he's taken a few steps in the right direction. So awesome job there by Allen. And we'll get to our Player of the Year votes, Fossils. So I'll let you go. Three, two, one.
Yeah, no, very tough for him. Like there's a few I could have put in, but I gave one to Fab, and I just thought, he just, with his height and everything and the way he plays, he just holds that back line together. I thought he was fantastic again. Dacos I gave two. I could have thrown it around a little bit. And Jordan Agoe three. He was just absolutely magnificent. Like you said, William, he was in the back line, he was in the forward line, in the middle there, and he was bringing players into the game. I think he had something about 19 assists or something like that, which was very good. And a special mention to Pendles and Maynard and Schultz. I thought they all tried very, very hard. But like you said, we just fell short again. So hopefully we can get that rectified for next week. Well,
Yeah, no, exactly. It was 19 score involvements, but I've got him here, Fossil. So yeah, special mention to Schultze. I really wanted to get him in the votes, but we did have players to find the footy. It's just obviously our disposal was just not up to scratch. And Nick Dacos, I gave him the one vote. He wasn't his cleanest night, but 37 touches in the goal. And he does get us moving too. I think he went about 60%, but when you need someone to get the footy and get us going forward, he starts at half back or from the centre square where we've really struggled. He got four centre clearances. So I know he attended a lot and that's his job, but yeah, without him, I don't know. And Josh Dacos too, your mate, he did a bit better this week, but if they get the ball out of the centre a bit more going forward, like you want Nick Dacos to go with these guys with the ball in their hands. So one vote to Nick, two votes to Maynard. That was a true leader's game, as you said. Discussions about him, or yeah, Maynard or Dacos being the next captain. I think he's every bit of a leader, as we know, and he doesn't need the high possession games to, be a leader and show an example. He's just hard at it and brings that intensity. All the other clubs can get stuffed because they all don't like him. But if he was wearing their colours, they'd love to have him in their side. There's no club that wouldn't want to. And three votes to go. He knows 19 score involvements, including five goal assists, was absolutely huge. And he just won the ball everywhere and hopefully continue his hot streak of form. And the season tally so far, so I'll just do the top three. Dacos is well and truly in front on 39, Fossil. Houston's got 19 and Maynard's got 14. I'll put up the whole list that we've got when we do our mid-season episode, where we'll go through a bit of the list and what potential changes we can do. But Houston in second, I hope he can fire up Fossil, but he shouldn't be immune like any player. If he's out of form, Houston, Lipinski, like these guys, it wouldn't hurt to give him a week or so in the twos just to tell them that you're not guaranteed a spot. And we know you can be damaging at your best, but you just haven't been up to scratch. And it also, these guys in the VFL need to know that they have a chance to get a spot. Ryan had a huge game on the weekend. Sullivan was even bigger. So these guys need to know that they've got a chance to be selected, or else what's the point? They're just gonna keep going well in the twos, and they're on a bit of a losing streak, but players are still putting their hand up. So anyway, it's good to see. I've lost my voice, guys. I was absolutely screaming last night, so apologies there, Fossil. But we do have a winner, Fossil. So our game day prediction result. Well done. It's been about 7 or 8 weeks in the making. And a big congratulations to Lee Sweetland, 4 goals and 42 possessions, right on the money. So well done there, Lee. We'll be sending you that $90 voucher shortly, but an awesome effort. And stay tuned, everyone, because we're back on next week. It's probably going to start a little bit lower than we had it, but it was really good to see it get done, Fossil. So, and a
Well,
couple of, yeah, sorry, go on, Foss. Go
sorry,
on.
Will. No, I was just going to say, well done, Lee. Congratulations. You must have been listening to the fossil, I think, to sort of listen to the fossil's form with him, and he sort of got close, but good on him. It's good to see. So it can be done. So congratulations to Lee, and good job.
You just have to mention yourself, Fossil. We all just had to give yourself a bit of a plug, but also mention I haven't got the names here, but I think we had 3 or 4 get the disposals or one off, and about another 4 of them got the goals as well. So it was a pretty good week all round for. I think one of them had the goals in 43, so agonizingly close. But that's why we do it every week, guys. So. Stay tuned, and as long as you get it in before the game starts, exact disposals and goals, then you'll have a chance. So well done, Lee, and that will be coming your way very shortly. And just to finish off, Fossil, I reckon that with the Pies themselves, they'll roll the dice over next month of footy and just see if we can string together 3 or 4 wins on the trot. That's the only chance we'll have at qualifying for finals. I don't think we can make the top 6, so we're going to have to do it the hard way and do these wildcard rounds, which Fossil was never a big fan of. But I think that's the only chance, Fossil. But if they don't get on this bit of a streak now, and we get to the last third of the season, I think they're just going to have to start playing the kids, start playing these players who we don't know if they're AFL ready or not. Demaria, Jarth, there's a few of them. Smith hasn't debuted yet, and not the younger fellas as such, but we just need to know who can step up, and if they're no good, cut the list. It's not like we have to do a full reset. We'll touch on this in our mid-season episode we do, but yeah, they've just got to find a way, Fossils. They've got to show us what they've got. Buller's been very unlucky, 6 goals the last 2 weeks in the VFL, so I'll be putting him straight in next week. Obviously, we have the mid-season recruits as well, Fossils, so I don't know if you want all 3 of them to play next week, but they've got to do something different to give us some targets.
Yeah, no, you're spot on there, Will. And the thing is too with the young ones too, Will, they've got to give them 3 or 4 weeks, like I don't know when they're gonna not throw in the towel, but they can't play him for a week and then, on the bench and then give him the flick. They got to like Steele. Like he got 3 or 4 chances in a row and improved each time. And I think like with Ed and these other blokes, Angus and all these guys, they got to give them a go for 3 or 4 weeks. There's no use putting them in one week, putting them out the next week. They just don't get any continuity, Will. And these older guys, if they look like that they're dropping away a little bit in form, well, you play the young ones and give them a chance. Like you said, well, we're not going to know. So, were they going to wait till the last game of the year and give them, 2 or 3 games towards the end of the year? You need to find out early days whether they're up to it or not while they're still a chance to make maybe the top 10. So hopefully they'll take that on board and they start giving them a go and keep them in for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, well, they took away that sub rule, and you don't want anyone to be a Finlay McRae. I don't think he's played for the Eagles yet, but he was a
Mm.
horrible watch story because he'd get in the side, they put him as sub, he'd play one full game, but then we'd lose, so it just like he'd lose momentum and then be dropped. So you don't want these players to just lose all their confidence, and so I would challenge them with more out, and I know they got to get a few players back, but Will Parker. I'd like to see him string together 2 or 3 games because we know what he can do. And people are saying, "Oh, he's a VFL player." I said he's literally come in one game, gets dropped. A few weeks later, he comes in, he gets dropped. And what chance do you have? I think the game before this, he played with Sydney. So going up there, massive underdogs, a very young side. What sort of chance does the kid have to prove himself? And then you drop him the next week. So hopefully, Fossil, you're
Exactly.
right, and they can give him a real crack at it just to show us what we've got. I haven't given up on the season. Like a lot have said that. I know it's a real hard pill to swallow that loss last night, and we've had a few close losses, but just, hang tight, guys. If they can get on a run, we've got Melbourne, then we've got the bye, then we've got, I think it's Port Adelaide, then Richmond, or maybe switch those two around. But if we can get, 3 or 4 wins in a row and really build up some confidence, get some players back. Perriman's been a massive out. People don't realize that he's so durable. He's Will Hoskin-Elliott 2.0. So, we'll just get some players back, get a bit of momentum, and you just don't know. You can get on a bit of a roll, Foss.
Yeah, no, you're spot on there. Well, especially the way it is, Will, if it's still fairly tight. And like you said, that's all they got to do. Get 2 or 3 wins, get their confidence up, get that team selection right, and get that balance right. And like you said, like the last quarter, they started cutting through the middle of the ground, and it just looked so much better, Will, in the first 3 quarters. So, yeah, so hopefully they get the team selections right and give the kids a chance. And you just never know. It's a funny game, football, Will.
It is, and I don't think the season could be any more unpredictable. It's pretty much from first all the way down to 14th. The bottom four for me is pretty set, but anyone on any given Sunday, Foss, as they say, someone can upset somebody. So also, just last
Exactly.
comment, I'm a bit blue. I'm not feeling bad or anything, but this room we moved into, it's got a blue everywhere and the reflection fossils. So yeah, I'm usually a lot more pale than this. So anyway, that's just for those
Yeah, I'll
wondering.
try to
So,
work out whether you're a North supporter or a Blues supporter. Well, I think it's
oh,
more
good
North
God.
Melbourne. More
God,
North Melbourne, I think.
it looks a little bit navy, so yeah, obviously Pie supporters won't like that one. But anyway, thanks guys. Please leave your comments, and we love having to hear you guys hear from you guys every week. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and those guys who are following our Flag Pies page, let's get to triple digits. We're almost there, fossils. So keep going, guys, and give us a like and a share, and get more involved. We love to discuss footy, and we're always hot about the pies. So, all right, guys, until the King's birthday, so a little bit of a break, but we will put up information during the week in that new competition. I will drop that maybe the night before just to give people a bit more time to get on and have a crack at getting another voucher. So, thanks, Fossil, and go Pies, guys. We'll see you all next week.
Yeah, thanks, Will. Go, Pies.
All right, go Pies. See you guys. Bye.